Hi guys, and welcome back to World of Tanks with Antonow 2. And the test server of patch 8.6 is out at last, and of course I spent all morning waiting in a queue to get onto it. And yeah, at last I'm online. I'm just gonna have a quick look, have a preview and a review of this patch for those of you guys who don't have a chance or just don't have the time to queue up and get into the test server. So yeah, let's get stuck in. There are quite a few changes in this patch, and the most important one definitely is that now there are tier 10 artilleries in the game. Now, for those of you who've gotten tier 8 artillery, you don't have to get all excited and frustrated about this, because nothing will change for you. Your tier 8 artillery will just simply be bumped up to tier 10, and it will just get thrown into tier 10 games. It will just be exactly the same, only that your tier number changes, but everything is going to be exactly the same. However, for those of you guys who've got artilleries in the medium and lower tiers, quite a lot will change. Let's have a look at the tech trees. I think it's pretty cool that they've added tier 10 artilleries, because quite a while ago, probably some of you guys never got to know these good old times, but I think it was patch 7.5 when they introduced it. But before patch 7.5, there weren't any tier 10 medium tanks and tank destroyers. There only were tier 9 tank destroyers and medium tanks, and the heavy tank branches were the only tank lines that went up to tier 10. And then in patch 7.5 they added these tier 10 medium tanks and tank destroyers, so I thought that was really nice. But then what I couldn't see is, why weren't there any tier 10 artilleries? Because it just doesn't make any sense. You've got a tier 5 artillery, but you only get into tier 7 or tier 8 games. So actually a tier 5 artillery before this patch used to count as a tier 7 tank, but it only had a 5 on it, so that's really illogical. And I think it's really nice that they've added or that they've extended the tech trees up to tier 10 of artilleries, and I think that's going to make the game a lot more simple, probably, like concerning tiers for artillery. It's going to take quite a while to get used to, definitely, and yeah, it's going to take quite a while, but once you've got used to it, I think it's definitely an improvement to the game. So what I'll do now is I'll just quickly go through the different tech trees and the different artillery lines and all the tech trees, and just show you what's changed and what's stayed the same. So in the Russian tech tree, at the start of the first 3 tiers, we've got just the same as we always used to: the SU-18 at tier 2, the SU-26 at tier 3, and the SU-5 at tier 4. But then at tier 5 it changes, because at tier 5 you get the SU-122A. So that's a new tank, and we'll have a look at this tank just in a moment in my garage. Then at tier 6 we've got the SU-8 again, that's just the same. At tier 6 we've got the SU-8, only that now it's a tier 6 tank, not a tier 5 tank as it used to be. And then at tier 7 we get another new vehicle, the SU-14-1, which actually just is a SU-14 without this kind of fighting compartment or turret, or however you want to call it, on the back of it. Then the S-51 was moved up to tier 7, so it used to be at tier 6, now it's tier 7. Then the SU-14-2, that's just basically the SU-14, but they've changed it to SU-14-2. That's a tier 8 tank now, not a tier 6 tank. And then at tier 9 we've got the 212A, which basically just is for Object 212, it's just got another name. And then at tier 10 we've got the good old Object 261, which at the moment is the tier 8 tank, the tier 8 SPG in this line. So let's have a quick look at the new tanks in the garage. This is the SU-122A at tier 5. And this is the SU-14-1, so yeah, this just looks like something in between an Su-51 and the Su-14. So yeah, those look like two pretty interesting tanks, especially this. It's not going to win in any beauty competitions, but it looks interesting. So yeah, let's move on to the German tree. A lot more has changed for the Germans than for the Russians, because first of all, there's a new Tier 2 tank, or new Tier 2 SPG rather more, which is the G Panzer MK4. So, no, it's actually MK6, not MK4. So the G Panzer MK6, we'll just call it MK6, because I don't want to over time be just the name's just far too long, so just call it MK6. At Tier 2 we've got the MK6. That's where the Bison used to be, and the Bison has been moved up to Tier 3 beside the Vespa. And then at Tier 4 we've got the Storm Panzer II. So the Storm Panzer II has been moved up a tier, and then here at Tier 4, beside the Storm Panzer IV, it's actually the Storm Panzer II, we've got the Panzer SFL 4B. So we'll just call it the 4B. So yeah, the 4B is kind of parallel to the Storm Panzer II, and yeah, it looks pretty decent. We'll have a look at all these new tanks in the garage too. Then at Tier 5, the Grill. So the Grill was bumped up a tier, the same for the Hummel and the GW Panther. And then at Tier 8 we meet a new tank, which is the GW Tiger P. Which just is like a GW Tiger, just it's based on the chassis of the Tiger P. Then at Tier 9 we've got the good old GW Tiger, and at Tier 10 we've got the GW Type E, only now it's called the GW E100. So to the garage and Germany. So this is the new Tier 2 SPG, the MK6. And yeah, it looks pretty small and it looks pretty funny, but it's probably going to be a pretty good Tier 2 SPG. I haven't played any of these new SPGs just because I don't really like playing SPGs, but you know, I'm just judging from the looks and so on. I'm not much of an SPG player anyway, so I'm not reviewing them or anything, I'm just giving you a first impression. Then at Tier 4 we've got the 4B, which looks more like a Dicker Max, really, I think. If I wouldn't know that this is an SPG, I'd say this is a tank destroyer, but obviously it's an SPG. And yeah, it's got pretty low profile, so yeah, why not? It looks cool. And then at Tier 8, the GW Tiger P. Whoa ho ho! This is pretty damn ugly. Well, it isn't supposed to look good. It's supposed to, you know, do its job, which is, you know, take out enemy tanks, and I bet it does that pretty damn good. Because you have to remember, this tank goes into Tier 8 games. Tier 8 games. Look at the damage output. This is standard ammo, and it does 1,500 to 2,500 damage in a Tier 8 game. That means it can one-shot any of its opponents. It can one-shot Tier 10 tanks. This gun is nearly exactly the same gun as the GW Type E, or now it's called the GW E100, has. It's just like a bit worse or actually a lot worse in rate of fire and accuracy and so on, and aiming speed, but the damage and penetration is exactly the same. So I wouldn't like to meet this buddy here on the Dark Knight. I expect that the damage roll will be nerfed a bit, because 2,500 damage, that's just that's really overpowered. So next are the Americans, and for the Americans, at Tier 2 you've still got the T-57, and then at Tier 3 and 4 these two tanks were just switched around. So the M7 Priest used to be at tier 4, now it's at tier 3, and the M37 was moved up to tier 4. Now, for those guys of you who've got, say, an M7 Priest at the moment, this won't affect you all that much, because what will just simply happen is you keep your M7 Priest at tier 3, but you also get M37 at tier 4 to replace your M7 Priest. So, yeah, not all that much will change for you. Then at tier 5, we still got the M41 like we used to. Now at tier 6, we get a new tank, the M44, which is basically is more or less the same as the M41. Then the M12 at tier 7, so it was moved up a tier. Then at tier 8, moved up one tier as well, the M40 slash M43. And then at tier 9, we've got a new guy, that's the M53 slash M55, which is a very, very interesting machine. And then at tier 10, we've got the T92. So, let's have a look at the new tanks. USA. USA, yeah. Here is the M44, so yeah, just basically a bit modified M41. And here we've got the M53, M55 tier 9 SPG, which looks a bit like, yeah, something in between an M43 and, an M43 and a T92. So, yeah, it looks like a very, very powerful machine. So the damage isn't all that high, really. Well, it's still pretty high, but compared to the, say, GW Tiger P, it's not all that high, but it's kind of balanced with other stuff like Rate of Fire and so on. So yeah, it looks pretty cool. And then the last tech tree, or the last artillery branch we're going to look at, is the branch of the French. And at the French, at tier 2 and 3, everything stays the same. Then at tier 4, we've got a new tank, the AMX 105 AM. And then we've got this AMX 1305 AM at tier 5, that was just moved up one tier. And then the former tier 5 artillery was now moved up a tier as well. So now the AMX 12T doesn't lead up to the Lorraine 155-50 anymore, but to the AMX 13F3. So yeah, then at tier 7, we've got the Lorraine 155-50 moved up one tier, the same at tier 8. Then at tier 9, we've got another new tank, the Batchat 155-55, which is just basically the same as the tier 8 artillery at the moment, just a bit worse, like it's a kind of a prototype or earlier version of it. And then we've got what we up till now knew as a Batchat 155. Now it's called the Batchat 155-58, and yeah, it's just basically exactly the same as the Batchat 155. So that's sneaker peek. France, and here's the tier 4 machine. These flaps here look a bit like wings. I think that's funny. Yeah, it doesn't look like anything to get excited about, but then it doesn't look especially bad either, so yep. Then at tier 9, we've got the Batchat 155-55, so yeah, that's just, yeah, basically nearly exactly the same as the tier 8 artillery that we've got at the moment in the game, so probably we've got very, very similar performance to expect from it, and it's actually got exactly the same gun too. So yeah, that's done us for the new artilleries. There's just a few things to say to artillery in general that will be changed in this patch, and that is that the accuracy and stuff like that have been, the reload time too, I think a bit, have been nerfed extremely, especially the accuracy. Like, let's have a quick look at the Americans. You can see it really, really well with the T92. Let's have a look at its gun. 0.92 accuracy. That's so bad. This used to be a lot better. I don't know the exact figure, but it definitely used to be a lot better. And the aiming time, 8 seconds. Oh, justice at last. Yeah, I've been crying, and not only me, but a whole pile of players have been crying for artillery nerfs, and at last it's happened. The rate of fire always was bad, it stays bad. Now the problem with this is that you can't just simply believe these numbers, because what happens in patch 8.6 is that in your aiming circle, the shots go a lot more to the middle now. So your shots, the percentage of shots traveling to the outer rim of your aiming circle has been minimized a lot, and a lot more shots now just travel directly to your crosshair or close to your crosshair. So they had to change the accuracy or nerf the accuracy of the artilleries to keep it balanced, because in the end the accuracy will stay more or less the same. So that's a bit of a disappointment. I think they could have done a bit of a better job to nerf the artillery. I must say I've realised in a few artillery games that I've played on this patch that the artillery has lost a bit of its power, but I think it still could do with a bit more nerfing. But that's only my opinion, and I know there are a lot of people out there that have another opinion, so yeah, just you don't really have to bother about that all that much. What you should bother about though, and what's I think pretty nice too, is that now the research costs of artillery has been obviously adjusted to its tier level. So now researching tier 3 artillery won't be a lot more expensive as researching other tier 3 tanks as it used to be. It will just be more or less equal, and it's the same with all tiers, and the credit costs have been adjusted accordingly as well. So yeah, I think that's really nice. And another thing to mention is that up till now, artilleries and tank destroyers had a bit of a credit and experience, so kind of a bit of a reward drawback. So TDs got 30% less reward for the same actions as other tanks did, and SPGs 50% less. And now these reward, I just call them reward withdrawals, were taken out of the game again. So now you'll earn a lot more credit and experience, especially with artillery, but also with your tank destroyers. So yeah, I think that's really, really good, because I've had some really, really cool games in my tank destroyers, and I never really got all that many credits and experience for them, and I was getting a bit frustrated. I never really knew the reason. Now I know the reason, and I'm really glad that that's going to change, because yeah, I just think it's unnecessary. So is there anything else to say to the artilleries? Not really, no. There is a new map also in patch 8.5. It's called Sacred Valley. We'll just quickly go to training room. Yes. So I create a room, and I just quickly show you the map. Let's see, no, it's further down. Let's see. Sacred Valley. Okay, this is what it looks like. It's based in Korea, like in the mountain villages of Korea. It's a snow map, like a winter map, which I think is cool, because if you think of it, we've only got 2 winter maps in the game at the moment, and I think it's cool that we're adding another one, and I really, really like this map. It's very, very interesting. There are a lot of different tactics that you can use on it, and I'm definitely looking forward to this to this map entering the game. There's not only a standard battle layout of this map, there's also an encounter battle layout, and I'll try to get a game in with this map on the test server and upload it. I haven't had any games on this map worth showing to you, or well, I've had one game, but that game was that bad that I don't really want to show to you, because it would be pretty embarrassing. So once I get a game in this map that is worth showing, I'll definitely show it to you, so that you can get an idea of this map. And yeah, all I can say at the moment is it's pretty cool, and yeah, as I said, I just tried to get a game in. So that was more or less all. Is there anything left to say? Yes, there is. One thing is that the camo values of TDs have been improved in contrast to, say, the camo values of bigger tanks, and the way a camo net affects SPGs has been changed as well. So a camo net works a lot stronger on SPGs, on tank destroyers now than it used to do. And another thing is that the efficiency of thick armor has been improved a lot as well, especially towards heat shells, I think. So heavy tanks will now be a lot more resistant against heat shells. And another thing is that the penetration of the 105 mil guns of medium tanks has been nerfed a bit as well. So I don't really think that's all that great, because I've been really looking forward to getting my Leopard 1, and I just think his gun is sheer awesome. And I've played it on the test server and it still is pretty good, but you realise the difference. You definitely realise the difference, and I think that's a bit of a shame. But I guess I can see the point that Wargaming is making, that the medium tanks were a bit too overpowered. So I haven't tested it all that much yet, but yeah, one thing that I've realised that irritated me quite a bit was that Wargaming announced that there would be a new Tier 8 Chinese premium tank added in patch 8.6, and it isn't there. So that's a bit of a disappointment. Perhaps they'll add it in the second build of the test server, but at the moment it isn't there, and I think that's a real shame, because I was really looking forward to testing that tank out, especially after seeing the Type 59 performing in battles in World of Tanks. And I've played the Type 59 on the account of my friend, so I loved that Tier 8 Chinese premium tank, so I was really looking forward to this one being added. But I don't know what's happened to it. If any of you guys know, please make sure to write it in the comments. Speaking of premium tanks, there's actually been a new Tier 5 premium tank added to the tech tree. This is the Excelsior, and I forgot to buy it in advance, so I'll just quickly buy it now. And here it is. So I haven't had a look at this tank yet. I just bought it right now, and the armor looks pretty good, considering this is only a Tier 5 tank. 100mm of armor is very, very good. The speed is pretty good too, 38 kilometers per hour. That's nearly 40 kilometers an hour. That's pretty good. Let's see, the power to weight ratio is no, we don't get a power to weight ratio. Okay, well, anyway, the gun, let's see, the gun, I don't think this gun will be very good. I don't really think this gun looks very good, because, well, the rate of fire is very good, but the damage is pretty low, and 68mm of penetration in Tier 5 games, that's just really, really poor. So if you don't use premium rounds in this tank, that's going to be real tough going. I don't think this tank looks very promising, from looking at the stats and so on. I mean, it looks kind of cool. It doesn't look great, but it's got kind of a cool touch to it. But all the same, with this gun, no, because it's a heavy tank. You have to bear in mind it's a heavy tank. With this kind of gun, that's just not going to work out very well. And if you don't use it with premium shells, that's going to be really, really tough going. So yeah, I can see that Wargaming kind of wants to kind of increase its income by, trying to force you actually to use premium shells. Yeah, it's not very nice of them, but they're a business, and they're trying to make money, and that's just the kind of thing they do. yeah, I'm kind of wrapping up now. That's kind of more or less all. And yeah, thanks a lot for watching. I think patch 8.6 is, well, it won't affect me all that much anyway, because I'm not much of an artillery player, but for those of you who like playing artilleries a lot, it's going to bring quite a lot of changes, some in a good way, like some positive changes, some negative changes. I think it's good that they've added these tier 10 artilleries. It makes everything a lot more simple, and it's just, you know, logical. And a lot more logical. So yeah, I hope I could give you a first impression, especially those guys of you who couldn't get any access to the test server. Yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.